connecting. All set. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us here in North Adams in the Berkshire section of Massachusetts. Beautiful drive out until I hit that detour. That was 7 miles. Okay. All right. I love coming out this way all the time. It's great to be with you all. Glad to see all of you here in the room and virtual. As I said before, my name is Meredith Tewitt. I have the honor of serving as the current chairwoman of the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women. I was also the immediate past president of the National Association of Commissions for Women, the NACW, where states gather together to learn best practices and data research on policies that can improve the lives of all women and girls across the Commonwealth. I'm proud to say, so Ellen, our communications person, she always catches me. I'm proud to say I'm a United States Navy veteran. She loves the fact that I served 14 years reserves and active duty as a jet mechanic, aviation machinist mate in the Navy. I am a mother. I don't use the word. I'm a grandmother, and I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I'm a dot girl from Dorchester. Yes. I asked my sister commissioners if they would briefly introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Vice Chair MoCA.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christine MoCA. I'm vice chair of the commission. I'm originally from Western Massachusetts, including having lived in Berkshire County when I worked for former state senator Ben Downing. So happy to be back. And yes, it was a beautiful drive until we hit the detour on Route 2. I was appointed by the Caucus of Women Legislators, now serving in my second term. So really happy to be with you all.
Thank you, sister. And to my right.
Oh, all the way to the right. Hi, everybody. My name is Kim Shea, and I am a commissioner with the State Commission. I'm actually the secretary of the commission and the chair of policy or program and planning. I am from North Central Massachusetts, so that's kind of in the opposite direction, middle of nowhere that way. I am extremely happy to be here with you all this evening, and I will turn it over to my left.
Thank you, Kim. My name is Divya Chaturvedi. I'm also one of the state commissioners. Now in my second term, I was appointed by the Caucus of Women Legislators. I still call myself a new resident of Berkshires, having moved here last year. Awesome move. I love living here and so excited to have MCSW hold their public hearing in this part of our world. I also serve as the secretary of the Finance Committee at MCSW. Thank you.
Thank you, sisters. And online, Commissioner Arena, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, everyone. Tanisha Arena. I am the current vice chair of the Finance Committee. I was appointed by the Caucus of Women Legislators. I'm in my second term. I'm super excited to be here with you all and to hear about the issues that are impacting women and girls in Berkshire County. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Commissioner Fox.
Hi, thank you so much. Jean Fox, I come from Freetown, and I'm wrapping up my third and final term on the State Commission. I've served in a number of capacities. Very happy to be here this evening with all of you as well.
Thank you, sister. Commissioner Hall. Okay, there she goes.
There we go. So, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Audrey Hall, coming to you from Framingham, Massachusetts. I am an appointed commissioner by Senate President Karen Spilka. I'm currently serving in my third term, and I've had the honor of serving right now as chair of the Finance Committee and treasurer, but I've also been the vice chair of the commission and vice chair of the Legislative Committee and chair of the COVID-19 Committee. and I'm always trying to jump in and do whatever's needed to help the women in Massachusetts and to work with all of my sisters here on the commission. So it's great to be here with all of you tonight.
Thank you so much. And before I come back into the room and introduce the Berkshire County Regional, Senator Paul Mark.
Hi, I am not a member of the commission, but I am honored to have you in my district, and I am driving back from Boston, so happy to be participating online.
Thank you so much, Senator. And yeah, Casey's here representing you too, but Casey, wave your hand so they know you're in the room. There's Casey. Sir, it's going to be a beautiful drive until you hit the bridge. Then the 7-mile detour.
Guess I'll
all
stop
right.
for dinner.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And in the room representing Representative Tricia Farley-Bouvier's office is Mirabai. I know I pronounced it wrong. Mirabai is the I. Yes, it's a pleasure. Greetings and welcome. So can our sister commissioners from the Berkshire Regional Commission please stand? Yay. So we have 4 sister commissioners here with us from the Berkshire Regional Commission. And I want to say that the pipeline does work. We have 11 regional commissions in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, with hopes that once you serve on the regional commission, that you'll be able to move and be successful and so on. And I want to ask Commissioner Levante to please stand. Yeah, I'm going to put her on the spot. This sister has been, and the press release was sent out last week, has been selected by the Women's Legislative Caucus to join us on the statewide commission on status of women. Thank you so much, sister. We're looking forward to when you complete your onboarding and become one of us on the state level. That doesn't mean she's leaving Berkshire behind, right? That just means that she becomes a meritor. She'll still do the work. She'll still, okay, double hats, right? Yes. I want to say thank you. Thank you to the Berkshire Innovation Center, also known as BIC Works here at MASS MoCA, for hosting us this evening. Where's the young man that's been? He's in Jordan's in the corner. Thank you, Jordan. Also, our executive director in the room with us, Shaitia Spruell. Online with us, we have Tina Games, we have Raven, we have, who else is online with? We have our interns, we have all of the staff that's online with Darlene is on there, I think. So I want to say thank you to the staff. The MCSW was legislatively created in 1998 as an independent state agency seeking to advance equality for women across the Commonwealth to promote their rights and opportunities. The commission consists of 19 volunteer commissioners who are appointed by the governor, which I'm one of those, Senate President, Speaker of the House, and the Caucus of Women Legislators, right? We'll be moving quickly this evening, so please be sure we have your contact information so we can follow up with you. If you have written testimony, please turn that in to us or to Shaitia, and we hope you share with us via email also. And please like our Facebook page, follow us on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. You know, we have everything but TikTok. Okay, so so I want to say thank you for being here, and thank you in advance for sharing your stories. I would like to pass the mic to our secretary and also the chair of program and planning, Kim Shea.
Thank you, Chair Tuitt. So hello again, everybody. My name is officially Dr. Kimberly Shea. And as I mentioned previously, I do serve as the secretary for the MCSW, as well as the chair for Program and Planning Committee. Currently, I'm the Dean of Nursing and Health Sciences at Mount Wachusett Community College, as well as an adjunct faculty member in several area colleges. As a registered nurse and higher education professional, I certainly understand the many intersecting threads of our lives that contribute to the overall health of the women, children, and families in the Commonwealth. They keep telling me to put the microphone closer because they can't hear me. In my real life, they can hear me. The Commission represents and recognizes all women, regardless of their age, race, color, creed, abilities, language, socioeconomic status, immigration status, sexual orientation, or gender assigned at birth. Together, our purpose is to provide a permanent, effective voice for women throughout Massachusetts, women and girls throughout Massachusetts. Our mission is to study and report on the status of the women in the Commonwealth. We are charged with advising executive and legislative bodies on the effect of proposed legislation on women. In short, the stories and the issues that we hear from you, we share directly with the State House. We fight to elevate our most pressing issues in real time. But we can't do this work without all of you. The MCSW seeks your input as we work towards advancing the status of women in North, Central, and South Berkshires and across the Commonwealth. After today's event, we'll be circulating a survey. We hope that you take the opportunity to share your voice and feedback with us.
Hi, everyone. Back again. My name is Christine Monska. I'm Vice Chair of the Commission. In my day job, I'm the Executive Director of the Women's Fund South Coast, and we're headquartered in New Bedford, Massachusetts, serving 20 cities and towns across southeastern Massachusetts. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm a Western Mass girl, originally born and raised in East Hampton, and I worked in Berkshire County, so I love this community so much. And once upon a time, I lived in Adams, and I lived in Stockbridge. So really happy to be with you here today. And I'm really passionate about connecting specifically gateway cities with the work being done at the State House and in Greater Boston, because our voices are typically not heard as loudly as they should be. I'm here to tell you a little bit about what the Commission does. To fulfill our mission, the Commission conducts regional public hearings like this one across the state to collect testimony and opinions on women's issues, gender justice, and our concerns. Our public hearings provide a safe and open space for all women in their communities to be heard and to share their lived experience, the issues that impact their daily lives. Any subjects surrounding issues that women face or obstacles that hinder the ability for all women to experience equity are welcome topics. The MCSW's charge is clear. We exist to empower the women of the Commonwealth. We are the bridge between the issues you face and the decision makers who have the ability to change, alter, or prioritize policy changes to make our lives just a little bit easier. In the past, our hearings have brought attention to issues such as economic independence, self-sufficiency, domestic violence, and access to education and resources that support women and their families, and so much more. Testimony gathered at public hearings directly informs the Commission's legislative agenda and policy priorities that we advocate for year-round. And I believe we're turning it over to Commissioner Hall.
Commissioner Hall. You're muted. All right. Divya.
Is she?
All righty.
Okay, I'm back again. Speaking on behalf of Commissioner Hall, who serves as the current treasurer of the commission, I am going to talk a little bit about why this matters. But going back to myself again, this is Divya. Um, and I serve as the secretary on the finance committee, and as a state commissioner, my day job is serving as the executive director of Elizabeth Freeman Center. We serve survivors of domestic and sexual violence in the entire Berkshire County, and we are the only domestic violence agency in this county. It's a pleasure to be here and to hear from all of you. Yeah, I think that's about her. So what is public testimony, you might ask? Public testimony is when you or any member of the general public wants to tell us what they know. Can't afford your childcare? We want to hear about it so we can prioritize legislation to increase access to affordable, accessible childcare. And I'm sure we hear a lot about that in this room. Do you want to see gender and racial parity on public boards and commissions? Tell us and join us in amplifying that to our state policymakers. The purpose of public testimony is to gather facts and hear from real people, the general public. You can make your testimony here today orally or submit written testimony to the MCSW at any time. We incorporate what we learn into our annual reports, research and data, and policy recommendations that we make to our appointing authorities like the governor and the caucus of women legislators, among others. And they do seek our opinion. You know, the commission meets regularly with the caucus of women legislators and other legislators and informs them about the work that we do, what we are hearing from public, and issues that are coming up time and time again. So in short, this hearing is a public meeting and an opportunity to be yourself, to find others like you, and to share your story in a way that will positively influence the work that we do on behalf of all women in the Commonwealth. The MCSW works to create change in the lives of women, and your public testimony guides our policy and advocacy platform. That's why we are so glad you are here with us today.
Thank you. Audrey, you ready? All right, Commissioner Hall. Oh, oh, you want, all right, public testimony logistics. It's, tonight we will hear from you all about the issues that are important to you in this community. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes for their public testimony, and we'll give gentle time reminders to make sure that everyone has joined us this evening can be heard. This is a space for open dialogue and free expression. We encourage you to share your thoughts, explore ideas, and engage respectfully with others. However, we have a zero tolerance for policy for hate speech, harassment, or threatening behavior. This includes any communication that attacks, demeans, or incites violence against individuals or groups based on characteristics such as race, religion, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation. Did y'all hear that? Zero tolerance. This is a hybrid hearing, and so we want to thank you to those joining us on the Zoom from all corners of the Commonwealth. We'll also be hearing from some folks testifying virtually, and we'll do our best to ensure that everyone is heard this evening. We welcome you to state your name when you start, the town or city or village that you're from. We give you 3 to 5 minutes on the issues that have brought you here today. If you are online, please remember to mute your mic if you're not speaking to show respect for your fellow participants. And if you feel you want to testify and you haven't already registered, we ask that you just put it in the chat and let us know. All right? Now, without further ado, I'm going to pass it back to myself. And I'd like to welcome our first testifier. We'll be doing our best to alternate between in-person and online. So bear with me. I'm going to jump back and forth, back and forth. No, mine's is on. It's the craziest thing.
There you go.
No. I don't know what happened. It's got a mind of its own. Yeah. See, because it's still muted. It wasn't me. I don't know what happened. All righty. So I just have superpowers. Okay. I'm a comedian in heart, so bear with me, bear with me. So first, we're going to ask Kat Allen from Communities Care. She's online. Kat, are you ready?
I believe so. Do I have sharing possibility? And
Yes,
can you hear
ma'am.
me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Let me pull up my screen and you can tell me if you're seeing this. Are you seeing a slide that says Communities That Care Coalition?
No, I'm seeing 3 awesome, gorgeous women. Okay, there you go.
Now you're seeing it? Sorry, you said there I go. Are you seeing it now?
There you go. Yes.
Okay, great. And are you seeing me too? Because I can't see anything except my screen right now.
Yeah, we not in the room, but go ahead. We're ready.
Okay, so thank you so much to the chair and to the commission for coming out to Western Massachusetts and for listening to our testimony. My name is Kat Allen. I'm a Western Mass resident. I'm a mother and I work in public health. I coordinate the Communities That Care Coalition, which is part of the Franklin Regional Council of Governments which is hosted by the Franklin Regional Council of Governments and works to improve health and well-being for young people in our region. And I'm going to present some of the data from the Franklin County North Quabbin Student Health Survey. We've been conducting this survey since 2003, and we've conducted surveys from more than 40,000 8th, 10th, and 12th grade students over the years in all of the 9 public school districts in our region. So we have some of the best data in the state relating to youth health. I want to just give a heads up that we're going to be talking about sensitive topics like depression and suicidality during this presentation. So I just want to encourage people to take care of themselves as they need to. The first thing I'm going to talk about is youth mental health, or the main thing I'm going to focus on is youth mental health. So youth mental health, here's a scale of all the different measures that we collect about youth mental health since 2003 up until the present in 2025. And you can see that almost all of these measures have increased or gotten worse since about 2012, which not coincidentally happens to be the first year that most young people had smartphones. I don't think that's the only reason, but I do think there's a correlation, and you will see some of that data later on. We are seeing a nice improvement in mental health, as you can see in the 2025 data, at least some of it. So that's encouraging. And these increases in mental health problems are not spread evenly across genders, as we know. So the increase for cisgender girls was much greater than the increase for cisgender boys, and the increase for gender diverse students, transgender and non-binary, was even greater still. So let's look at social media use. We know that students spend a lot of time on social media per day. This is more true for girls than for boys, but we're seeing 2 to 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours, and a substantial portion of students who are 5 or 6 hours or more per day on social media. And we see that the risk of depression increases with time on social media. I don't think this is new news for anyone here, but it is stark when we see it in our own youth right here in Western Massachusetts. And you can see there are substantial jumps in the risk of depression based on the amount of hours of social media. Likewise, the severity of depressive symptoms increases with time on social media. And this relationship between depressive symptoms and time on social media is strongest for girls. So the green line here is cisgender girls. The blue line here is cisgender boys. We don't have a line for gender nonconforming and transgender here because there are too few students in each individual category to be able to report on that and maintain confidentiality. But we could imagine that relationship would be strong as well. For girls also, depressive symptoms increase with the number of social media platforms they use. So girls who use 0 social media platforms have much lower depressive symptom scores on average than those who use 1, and so on. It jumps up. And using statistical methods to erase differences by socioeconomic status, sexual orientation, grade, and so on, we see that each additional hour of social media use is associated with a 14% higher risk of depression, an 11% higher risk of anxiety, an 11% higher risk of serious suicidal thoughts, and an 18% higher risk of planning a suicide attempt. And that is for each additional hour of social media use. We have very few limits on social media. We have very few guidelines, guardrails, and this is something we can do something about. There are acts in other states at the federal government looking for age verification and so on, and we can do something about this. So the takeaways: the majority of students spend several hours per day on social media, and more time on social media is associated with more depression, more serious depressive symptoms, suicidal thoughts and behavior, especially for girls and trans and non-binary youth. I want to take a minute to say something about cell phones in schools, because this is being considered by the legislature right now and is very likely going to be rolling out in some form or another across Massachusetts soon. So this is a graph that we've seen of engagement in school. How much do you like being in school? How much do you hate being in school? How interesting are most of your courses to you? And we've been seeing this also get worse and worse and worse since 2012. We took a look at how often students report being distracted by phones in schools compared to engagement in schools. And we see that students who are never distracted by phones in schools, their engagement in school is much higher than students who are often or constantly distracted by phones in schools. And when we took a look at those schools in our region that had adopted phone-free bell-to-bell policies, so no phones were available during passing periods or during lunch, those schools, the blue line here, saw an uptick, an improvement in engagement in schools, whereas the other schools saw a continued decline. So, but that was not true for schools that adopted a policy but didn't enforce it. If students were still saying they were distracted by phones all the time, they did not see these benefits. So enforcement matters. And I'm going to end there and just encourage you to please consider social media, cell phones in schools as a really, really important issue for young people in our region, and for women and girls, for girls in particular in our region. Thank you so much. And if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to take them. And did I stop sharing my screen?
Nope. And can you, are you going to share that with us? You're going to email it?
I'm happy to share this with you.
Thank you. You're still sharing.
Oh.
Okay, that was you this time. All right, thank you so much for that, Kat. Wow, and it is true about the cell phones in schools, because the city of Boston, you can't have your cell phone in school. So that's an important topic for us. Anyone have a question or would love to get that data? Please let us know. And can we share that out, Kat?
Absolutely, we're happy to have it shared as widely as possible. And it's on our website at communitiesthatcarecoalition.com or org.
Thank you. It's one of those. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for that.
It's both of those. Yeah.
You have two? Oh, nice. Yes. For those of us that type it wrong and sometimes, yes. So in the room, when it's time for you to testify, little microphone and little podium stand to my left, your right. And it can be adjusted up. Not everyone in the room is under 5'1". So Jordan will help us adjust that if need be. First in the room, Meg Arvin. Hi, Meg. Meg is Berkshire County Regional. Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we need adjustment on that, definitely. Jordan is coming.
Well, I'm
Yeah, she wants to hold and screen, hold and scroll. Hold and scroll. The next, yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Just adjust the mic now. So yeah, leave it that high, Jordan, just in case we have other people.
There we go.
Yes. there you
Hello,
go.
can you hear me? Great. Hello, my name is Meg Arvin. I am the newly elected chairperson of the Berkshire County Commission on the Status of Women. Thank you. I have been asked tonight by Shirley Edgerton, who is the leader of the NAACP Berkshire County branch, to say a message on her behalf. So I'm going to read some text from my phone. Hello, her name is Shirley Edgerton. She is on the executive committee of the Berkshire County branch NAACP and is the director of the Rites of Passage and Empowerment, Inc., aka ROPE, a mentoring program based in Pittsfield. ROPE serves BIPOC girls and non-binary elementary, middle, high school, and college students in Pittsfield, Mass., and throughout the Berkshires. The core function is to develop authentic relationships between scholars and mentors, and in doing so, cultivate agency in the autonomy of scholars. Scholars are supported to explore and define their career goals through a variety of educational activities, including travel and access to local, regional, and nationwide arts and cultural programming, internships, and college tours. The Berkshire County branch of the NAACP is a major collaborator and supporter of ROPE's mission, as well as other opportunities to empower girls and women in the Berkshires. They provide funding for a number of girl-focused programs, including the biannual Service Learning Project in Ghana, West Africa, designed for ROPE participants. Numerous girls have benefited from the annual graduate event that the NAACP and Women of Color sponsor annually to celebrate students of color's accomplishment and graduation from high school. Each young person receives $500 to $1,500 to support their college education or vocational technical training. Lastly, the NAACP also supports young women entrepreneurs. Destiny Saunders, the owner of Dolce Rose, for example, sponsors an annual event on empowerment and sisterhood for women. The NAACP, under the leadership of the president, Dennis Powell, recognizes the inequities that women endure and gives voice to women to educate the community, as well as support programming financially to ensure change is a part of the present and future. Thank you for this opportunity, Shirley Edgerton. Thank you.
Thank you on behalf of Shirley Edgerton speaking. Thank you so much. Next, we'll go online. Lisa Black, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Can you hear
There you
me?
go. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Lisa Black, and I live in Lexington. I'm here to ask you to support two bills concerning a matter of urgent health care equity. H 1172, which recently had a committee hearing, and SD 3315, a companion Senate bill, which was just filed. Both bills require health insurance plans that cover gender medical transition or gender affirming care to also cover detransition related medical care. Detransition, in the words of the legislation, refers to medical, psychological, or psychiatric measures individuals may take to stop, reverse, or manage the effects of prior medical gender affirming care. Individuals detransition for a variety of reasons, such as social stigma, medical complications, or the realization that they were misdiagnosed with gender dysphoria. Yet they have many shared health needs, which are not covered by insurance, such as hormone restoration, surgical repair, pelvic floor therapy, and mental health treatment. The number of detransitioners is rising, with studies showing that as many as 30% of those who have medically transitioned now seek to detransition. It's also important to note that research shows that in recent years, adolescent natal females initiate medical transition treatments 2 to 7 times more frequently than adolescent natal males. On October 8th, H 1172 had a committee hearing. One person testified in opposition to the bill, while 20 people testified to support it, including 5 detransitioners. One of those detransitioners from Massachusetts testified, I began medical transition when I was 18. I was given immediate access to cross-sex hormones and was told this would help with my gender dysphoria. Over the following years, I received multiple gender-affirming surgeries, which were covered by my private insurance. Several years ago, I made the decision to detransition after worsening mental health. What I did not anticipate was how difficult and isolating that medical process would be. She went on to say, I have spent years trying to find providers willing to see me. The major barrier has been insurance. A retired justice of the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court said in her oral testimony, this bill does not take anything away from those who have medically transitioned or those who seek to medically transition. It simply recognizes that those seeking to safely detransition are supported in this effort. And a former senior vice president of health affairs at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts said in her written testimony, by passing this bill, Massachusetts will once again lead by example. H 1172 recognizes a vulnerable and growing patient population and ensures that clinicians in this Commonwealth can care for them with equity, compassion, and professionalism. And I will be submitting additional information along with this testimony and hope you will consider supporting it through your research or fact-finding or public forums or your legislative endorsement. Thank you.
Yes, that said, let me remind everyone we are a nonpartisan group that represents all women and all voices. So thank you for your testimony. And I also want to remind everyone that we have a zero tolerance. Please, zero tolerance. All right, back into the room. I now call Lauren Bava. Thank you.
Good evening. Hello. Hi, everyone. My name is.
Use the mic, baby. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
sorry.
apologize.
Oh,
I
sorry.
have the comments, but you have to be in the mic.
Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Lauren Bava from Agawam. I am a registered nurse at an emergency department of an inner city hospital here in Massachusetts. Every day I am on the front lines, and what I have to report I see is very deeply disturbing. We're facing a mental health crisis of critical proportion. Patients are in psychiatric distress, and they are coming to emergency departments in record numbers. There are not enough facilities and not enough inpatient beds and not enough community programs to care for them once they arrive. I have seen patients spend hours, sometimes even days, sitting in emergency room chairs or in emergency room stretchers because there is simply nowhere for them to go. These are human beings, mothers, fathers, teenagers, veterans, waiting for care that doesn't exist. The system is broken, and it's breaking the people within it, our patients, their families, and the healthcare professionals that are trying to help them. I remember one young woman who came to us after a suicide attempt. She survived, but after she was medically stabilized, we had nowhere for her to go. She sat for 3 days in a busy emergency department hallway on a stretcher with alarms and chaos happening all around her. She was scared and she was defeated. It was days until we were finally able to place her at a facility. This is not a form of healthy and therapeutic care. Since 2020, Massachusetts has lost more than 150 inpatient psychiatric beds statewide. While the demand continues to rise, each closure forces emergency departments to hold patients in crisis for days or even weeks, increasing safety risks and straining already overburdened staff. Massachusetts has always been a leader in healthcare innovation and compassion, but right now we are falling behind when it comes to mental health. We need expanded funding for treatment facilities both inpatient and outpatient. We need expanded funding for community-based programs for crisis to keep people safe and grounded. And we need adequate staffing and training for mental health professionals who are doing their best with too little. As a nurse, I see the consequences of inaction every day. And as a citizen, I know we can do better. This is not just a healthcare issue, it is a public safety issue, and it is a human dignity issue. Please invest in solutions that provide real help for those struggling and real relief for the communities that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Thank you. Online, Judith Nelson. I must remind everyone, please, if you have your testimony written out, you can give it to us here, email it to us also at mcsw@mass.gov. Thank you. Are you ready, Judith? She's online. Judith, whenever you're ready, just put it in the chat. We'll come back to you. All right. In the room, we have Forrest Rom. Forrest.
Hello, good evening. Thanks for being here.
Quite welcome. Excited to be out here in the Berkshires.
Can everyone hear me okay? Cool. My name is Forrest Rom. I am a Massachusetts resident, currently of Berkshire County. I serve as the Massachusetts State Contact for Women's Declaration International USA, which is the US chapter of a global nonpartisan organization of volunteer women dedicated to protecting women's sex-based rights. For the last several months, I've been communicating with women currently incarcerated at MCI Framingham, which is a designated women's prison in Massachusetts. Under Massachusetts law, male prisoners who say that they're women may be accommodated in women's facilities. Most of the men who are accommodated at MCI Framingham currently have been convicted of sexual offenses and other violence against women and girls. One example is Robert Koselek, now Michelle, one of the first men transferred to MCI Framingham. He's serving a life sentence there for nearly decapitating his wife with a length of wire. Kenneth Hunt is another example, who now goes by Kathina Nivea Sonia, who is also serving a life sentence at MCI Framingham for sexually assaulting, torturing, and murdering 2 women. One of them his cousin, whom he raped with a broom handle and stabbed more than 41 times in the vagina, stomach, chest, and neck. More than 86% of women incarcerated at MCI Framingham have survived sexual abuse by men. Now these men, proven dangerous to women and girls, are not only granted intimate access to these incarcerated women, but have also successfully sued the Commonwealth for access to costly surgeries intended to disguise their sex. These men, who now sleep and shower beside incarcerated women at MCI Framingham, receive preferential treatment due to the Department of Corrections' fear of lawsuits by men who are often supported by so-called trans rights lobbyists, such as the ACLU. Most of these men retain intact male genitals, and some stop cross-sex hormones immediately upon transfer. Some are in so-called consensual sexual relationships with incarcerated women, and multiple women who I have spoken with at length have reported sexual and other aggression by these men. The threat extends to staff as well. Female correctional officers have reported being unable to intervene because the male offenders tower over them physically. Danielle Laurenti was a Massachusetts Department of Corrections officer for nearly a decade, and recently she resigned. As a sexual assault survivor, she was forced to perform intimate, nude searches on male bodies and was not given a waiver when she requested. The women at MCI Framingham speak anonymously, fearing retaliation from both the men they're incarcerated with, and the Department of Corrections. One woman, who has asked to remain anonymous, requested that I share this with you tonight. Transferring men to MCI Framingham strains the already very limited resources available for women. It puts women in highly foreseeable physical danger, and there is little vetting, if any, of the men who are being transferred. Incarcerated women rely on this commission to recognize that housing men in women's prisons is cruel and unjust and should not be a partisan issue. There are already multiple reports of rapes and sexual assaults from states like Illinois and California, and eventually the same will occur in Massachusetts, if it hasn't already. If this commission exists to advocate for women and girls, it must immediately condemn this policy and call for the removal of all male inmates currently housed at MCI Framingham. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, we have to be nonpartisan on many things, but I'm going to say we're going to research that because I do a lot of prison work, and I'm in the MCIs, male and female, and I know many that are still housed. I didn't know that any of them had been transferred to Framingham, so we'll follow up with our meeting on that. Thank you. In the room, so Judith is having technical issues, so she won't be able to testify. But in the room, we're going to go to Flo Pimentel. Did I say that right? Pimentel? Okay, thank you.
Good evening. How are you? And thank you for being here. My name is actually Flordelisa Pimentel Agri, and I'm from Williams College. I work in the peace office, and I'm the violence prevention coordinator. I also used to work at the Elizabeth Freeman Center and also worked at the local DA's office, as well as Hampton County DA's office and Suffolk County District Attorney's office. One of the problems that I do see in Berkshire County that I don't see anywhere past Westfield is
in the mic.
The mic? Yes. Oh, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Be having problems. Yeah.
One of the problems that I do find in Berkshire County is the lack of services that's available for young women and girls. That's one of the things that's been happening here for a very long time. Unfortunately, it gets to a point where the only time that we are provided services when there's any cases of domestic violence, sexual assault, rapes, human trafficking, anything in that category. A lot of times when it becomes too much, even for Elizabeth Freeman Center, who does a great job at what they do. I worked for them for many years, and I know how great they are, but then you have to move over all the way to Hampden County. That's pretty tough. One of the things that I tell my students that I'm working with now is that the hardest part for them is if one of our students is raped at the present moment, they've been choosing to go actually into Vermont. Imagine being raped here in this area and going over to Vermont. The reason why they're choosing to go to Vermont is because if they go to North Adams Regional, unfortunately, the same nurses do not go to North Adams Regional Hospital. And they do go there, they pretty much get checked in, and then they're transferred by ambulance over to Pittsfield, which for the students that are at Williams College, that can be a lot, because a lot of them know nothing about Berkshire County until the day they started school here. So that's pretty tough. It's also tough for Elizabeth Freeman Center to answer those questions for them. Why is that not a thing? When they do go to hospitals in Vermont, there's actually 9 nurses that actually work in the ER that are all SANE certified to do those things right then and there. But now we have to get this stuff over. Yes, so that's the sexual assault nurse experts, the examiners. They're the nurses that actually come out and do the exam. They collect the evidence off the individuals who have been raped with a kit that they do in the hospital. As I said, I used to work for Elizabeth Freeman Center as a physical responder, and it's hard enough knowing that you're coming to the hospital to even have this done, as if to a victim, that's not a form of being re-victimized. But then on top of it, to know that you have to go to another state, that could be tough. I did ask the question, coming from the DA's office, I did ask the question, so once you collect the evidence, where does it go? Because now it's in Vermont. And they were kind enough to tell me that the Williamstown Police Department, the lieutenant goes over and picks up the evidence and brings it back and puts it in the safe. But it's the fact that all of that has to happen when we have our local agency here, but we don't have a local hospital that can help us. And that's the problem that a lot of women and girls are facing here. And as a mother who has daughters, that can be pretty tough for me to explain to them. We're doing the best that we can. We are presently collaborating with the Elizabeth Freeman Center, but what we ask is that, the Commonwealth consider collaborating, whether it be with the Elizabeth Freeman Center, which is the only agency that's available here to us, or even the Peace Office at Williams College. I even own a small company, Broader View Consulting, which is pretty much assisting women of domestic violence, sexual assaults, and rapes to receive help outside of Berkshire County if needed to because of any type of connections to it. But those are the things that we're working on inside of the office. And it's pretty tough. Like I said, it's hard for me to not just tell the student that this is what they're going to go through or for them to tell me, but also try explaining that to a parent. And this is coming from the voice of a parent, and also coming from the voice of a survivor. So again, anything that you can do to be of assistance to us and to the Elizabeth Freeman Center and anyone else who's involved, whether it be the nurses, because there's a lot of mental health that comes with that, drug addiction. At times some of these victims are so stuck here with no help that they even round up in prostitution and situations they don't belong in just to survive. This political climate is tough enough, and even with you guys being bipartisan, the one thing we can all agree on is that there should be more services than just one domestic violence agency or one hospital or one place for everybody to go in such a county that has so many people.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to say to you that the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women has been dealing with a same issue with DPH for a little over a year and a half now, when they closed down sane nurses in Cape and the Islands area, and we had a meeting with them, and they were focused on virtual, which we have an opposition to also. So we are aware of the lack of sane nurses in all regions of our Commonwealth, and we've been hoping to go back and meet with them again to see if we can work and try to improve this, because we have trauma occurring and they enter into the emergency rooms, and then they have trauma again in the emergency rooms, and like you're saying, having to go over the border for what a more healthy and holistic exam than trauma on top of. So part of our issue is we've been wanting to try to work with DPH to get them to understand, and the directors of SANE, that we need more, not less, because trauma is what we are endorsing when we do that. So thank you for your testimony, and I hope if you can give us something in writing, that way we will be able to have more ammunition when we sit back down with them, that it's not just Cape and the Islands, it's not just the Suffolk County region, it's Berkshires, it's all across the Commonwealth that we are in need of in person.
Yes, and you're absolutely 100% correct. If I may respond to what you were saying, as a person who was working in the field, where I was actually working Hampden County Probate, Springfield District, Holyoke District, and Chicopee District during COVID, one of the things that bothered me the most, and I used to get in trouble for it all the time, right? Because we were told you can't go in person. But how do you do a restraining order? How do you file a 250-80 or a 209A for someone who was just assaulted, or someone who was just raped, or someone who was just sexually assaulted over the phone, over a computer? To me, that's not the way I had learned to do it. And again, as a survivor, I knew how important it was to have somebody on the side of me than to have somebody on my phone. It just didn't seem to me very emotionally connected. And in the line of work, I think that a lot of us is in this room, there's an emotional connection that people get to us that's very important that we keep. That continuity has to stay regardless of political climate, regardless of indifferences, that has to stay the same. But it's very hard telling a victim you're going to be okay, and you're doing that over a Zoom link. It just doesn't make sense to me. So thank you and I will send you something in writing.
Thank you so much for that. Next, Leslie Lafredo. She's online. Isn't Leslie online? Oh, she had to leave? Uh-oh. Sorry. All right. All right, Liliana Gutierrez. Did I say that right, Gutierrez? Oh, Thank you.
I am 5'1". Maybe on a good day. Closer than I think. Thank you. I'm Liliana Gutierrez. I have an engineering degree. I have an MBA. And I moved to the Berkshires almost 30 years ago, which, believe it or not, makes me a newcomer. The Berkshires are a whole iceberg of what you see, in my view, beautiful Berkshires, safe looking, and it turns out there's a lot under it. I'll share just 4 things. But one is, as a trailing spouse, don't you just hate that name? When we moved here from my husband's job, there just aren't jobs for career women in the Berkshires. Not a whole lot that you can do, but I know, Trish, you and Paul are working on it. So something to think about. And I was lucky because IBM accommodated me, but I had to drive to Springfield. And in one of my assignments, I reported to headquarters. I actually had an apartment in New York where I was during the week. So it's not easy. And there's no easy way to get from here to New York, from here to Boston without a couple of tickets every once in a while. So transportation is difficult. And for me, it wasn't a huge thing. By the way, for employers like GD, that you guys, I'm sure, talk to, housing is an issue for both little engineer guys and little engineer women who are trying to get started. The Berkshires is not housing friendly. So something for you to think about. As I started my career with EFC on the board and as a volunteer, it's been surprising. Survivors are everywhere. And it's not just what people's impression would be, and I know it's not your impression because you're informed, but it's amazing to have conversations with folks who are have means, have resources. They're not students who are dropped into the Berkshires. They're people who have been here. They're people who have connections, and they still have gotten through terrible times without enough support. And many of them become community helpers in some way. And we have some of them as volunteers, which is amazing that they reach out. But again, surprising under that iceberg, the bottom is just amazing what you have in the Berkshires. I would say part of another thing that you may be able to do something about is financial management. A lot of survivors I see by helping in money school, they haven't been allowed to manage money. They don't know how to put together a budget. They don't know how to make priorities happen with some planning. I am going to need a time alert, please. I would say my other passion is immigrant women and men. I volunteer for another organization that does a beautiful job helping people with their health concerns, volunteer nurses, volunteer doctors, volunteer translator like me. A lot of women have low employment, underemployment, low wages. They work in the Berkshires. You work hard in the summer. You do not get to work in the winter if you work at a hotel. And some of the women who come in have said, I don't have money for the bus. Now it's free, which is fabulous. But they still spend 2 hours in the bus to go from Pittsfield to Great Barrington to go to the clinic, for example. Another barrier. And they just aren't. I noticed, I forget what it is, 1380. You guys are working on a legislative priority to educate people from kindergarten to 12th grade. Please do more. We do not have enough doctors here. And by the way, when I mention trailing spouses, it's not always the female trailing spouse. There's a doctor lady who did not take a job here, much as we need her in town, because her husband just couldn't find really good possibilities for his career. I would say access to health care is a true barrier, not just for immigrant women, but for you and me both. I just made an appointment with my doctor a year and a half from now to do something special. there just aren't enough doctors in the Berkshires. And it's awfully hard to sell the Berkshires when you can't have two career families necessarily. Ours was an exception, or have other issues that are economic, that are, there are a lot of immigrants in this area, much more than when I moved here 30 years ago, which is fabulous. But there are just not that many resources for folks. That's it. Thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you. You did well. You didn't need a timer alert. And thank you for everything that you spoke on. When we, and I'm going to go back, last time you were out here in the Berkshires, we were in Great Barrington. And all of your 4 topics were topics at Great Barrington at the time. You know, we heard that Meals on Wheels to the elders, that the one organization, the one driver would drive to the furthest one, which was 2 hours out, and then worked his way back to deliver food. And so those are things, the transportation. You guys got a bus? Wow. And it's free now. I love that. Rep Folly Bouvier, you know, she you know, we support her. We work with her on a lot of things. And when she talks about the housing issue, the homeless issue, and going out into the woods to make sure that she still does the homeless housing for everyone during the winter time and stuff like that. We appreciate everyone coming out and sharing the stories and being able to bring us issues that we need to focus in on and look at, right? Is there anyone else that wants to testify? I know if you haven't already registered or already told us you would like to testify, we are now asking if you want to come up. And you know, let me say, this is the Massachusetts Commission on the Status of Women and Girls hearing, public hearing, but we love testosterone and allies, right? I mean, you guys can stand up and talk about issues that you see because you're a brother, you're a father, you're an uncle, you're all of that, and you experience everything and you see things from a perspective that we can't see from. So we love hearing from you also. Oh, I see. Okay, and you are, introduce who you are and where you're from. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Corinne Quirk
Oh,
DeYoung.
come a little closer.
I'm Corinne Quirk DeYoung, and I live in North Adams, and I work for the Elizabeth Freeman Center through the Safe Plan program in the courts. And I want to start by I've been doing this job for a little over a year, and I was unsure how I would find the court system in Massachusetts. And I was pleasantly surprised that the judges are obviously very much aware of domestic violence and sexual assault and are trauma informed more than I was expecting. So that, I think, yeah, I wanted to start off with something good. And also the coercive control law came in about a year ago. And that has also really shown up in the courts in a day-to-day basis. And for the most part, the judges seem to be, so the coercive control is another form of abuse that the Massachusetts now recognizes as a means of getting a restraining order. So there might never be a raised voice or any violence per se, but there could be, limiting food or taking medication away or turning off utilities. So very, very clear abuse, but it wasn't covered until a year ago. And Massachusetts is at the forefront of that, as I understand, across the nation and how we address that. But I will also say some things that we would love more support in, and for sure, if there are steps that can be taken to improve access for legal, improve access for legal and safety resources for women and families in this rural community, especially those that are facing language barriers, transportation barriers, and just other economic barriers. And we would like support for these domestic violence advocates like in the court systems, such as the Safe Plan, that offer this trauma-informed guidance. I kind of joke that I'm a docent to the, to the district court for people on the worst day of their life, when they come in. And it makes such a huge difference. So any resources that can be brought to this would be great. And I'm a mom and I live here, and I don't know what else I was supposed to say. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks for having
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Online, Ashley Flynn, while some of our testosterone brothers think about testifying. Ashley.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting us to this meeting. I am Ashley Flynn. I am the vice chair for the Women Veterans Advisory Committee for the state of Massachusetts. It was an amazing committee that was established 2 years ago by Governor Healy. And then Chairwoman Truitt, thank you for your service. I'm also a Navy vet. Was a Navy nurse for 10 years, and I'm also calling from Dorchester, so represent. Anyway, thank you so much again. Just wanted to provide a brief update on where we are with the Women's Veterans Advisory Committee. So over the past year or so, we decided we needed to hear more about the issues in facing women veterans in Massachusetts. There are over 20,000 women veterans in the state, in the Commonwealth. And we wanted to get a better understanding of what those issues were that our veterans are facing. So we decided we wanted to get some community outreach and engagement. We launched a statewide survey. We had nearly 220 responses. We had veterans of all branches with the one exception of Space Force. We did not have any Space Force veterans. And then we also had survey responses from all walks of life, ages, backgrounds, life stages, as well as some of our incarcerated sisters. And we also hosted 9 in-person listening sessions across the state. We really tried to reach all the different areas of the state. We went as far west as Granby. These sessions were not scripted. We asked open-ended questions, and we wanted to provide space for honesty. Some of the quotes of what we had heard in these listening sessions: I didn't even realize I was a veteran until someone told me that I qualified for VA care. No one ever talks about how hard it is to find childcare that works with VA appointments. Women don't want to attend events with rooms full of men. Including embedded VSOs at the VA is simply not good enough to provide a list of names and contact information. This leads to dead ends and frustration, and VSOs need to be the belly button in terms of information and processes. And network events are far more scarce in the western part of the state, which I'm sure many of you could agree to that. A lot of stuff for veterans tends to be focused around the greater Boston area. So this was something that we heard, and we wanted to make sure that that was something we addressed. These are not isolated stories. They reflect broader trends, especially for women of color, LGBTQ plus veterans, and those who have felt left out of the traditional veteran community. I also want to recognize that not everyone has a positive experience in the military, and so their willingness to identify as a veteran ranges. It's on a spectrum of, some that are very involved and engaged, and then others that may feel like their outreach or their engagement with the community is less important to them, or potentially brings up negative emotions. However, as a Commonwealth, we support all veterans no matter how they identify, and we wanted to make sure that those key issues that they're facing also were addressed. So after holding the listening sessions and providing the surveys, we compiled a report that addressed some of the themes that we saw across these different responses, to include healthcare, employment, community support, transition support, legal support, and discrimination. So once we compiled this report, we submitted it to Secretary Santiago, And this report is really a starting point. It's not a final product. We've established a working group where we are looking at each individual item, each individual recommendation that we provided, identifying things that have already been put in place since this report has been compiled, and then also collectively identifying resources, and then engaging with people across the Commonwealth. So engaging with people in the legislature, engaging with the community, continuing to engage with women veterans, and just kind of continuing to identify different areas of improvement and action items that we can take on, and identifying different resources. So just wanted to bring awareness to this, as any veterans continue to kind of come out of the woodwork and encounter issues, we encourage you to reach out. We also hold monthly meetings that are open to the public. You can find that information on the state website, and we encourage you to reach out and let us know when you're encountering something and if something needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. If you don't mind sharing that report with the MCSW, if you could email that over, and thank you for that. Also, if you're a veteran, you can attend the Governor's Advisory Council meeting, but the Veteran Services for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts also has a entity called the Women's Veterans Network that was legislatively created, and you could become a member of that network. Also, as you heard from Ashley, there's 20,000 female veterans in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That survey only had response of 200 plus veterans, female veterans. And the last survey we did before, which is WVN, we only had 175. So that
Yeah.
tells you we have a problem in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts when it comes to women identifying themselves as female veterans. And until we can come to the forefront and we were invisible before. We're not as invisible anymore. We're in the shadows still. But because of entities such as the Advisory Council and WVN, maybe we'll get more of the sisters to come out and speak up. And want to thank you for that, and make sure you share that report with us if you don't mind. All
Will do.
righty.
Thanks, Chairwoman.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Anyone else want to? I see one more. Okay. Yes, thank you. Please give us your name. Oh, I see a Berkshire tag on your chest. There you go. She's also.
Yes, my name is Laura. I work with immigrant low-income women who are head of the household. This year, their children were unable to apply for childcare because they do not have.
Because you have such a soft voice. Can
Oh,
you take the mic and move
okay.
it? Because I can tell by the ASL interpreter that
That
they're
that one.
struggling to hear you.
Oh, okay.
Just take the mic out of the stand if you can.
I can.
Yes, you can take it out and just, yeah. Sorry, my voice carries, so, you know.
My name is Laura Cabrera. I work with immigrant low-income women who are household of this year. The children were unable to apply for childcare because they do not have their documents to prove their legal immigration status. I urge the Commission to support these women who live every day with fear and uncertainty while determined to give their children a better future. They deserve compassion, dignity, and access to resources that can help them to rebuild their lives. And I think it was important to bring their voices tonight. Many of them, they cannot be here because they are scared, and just asking for help and resources for these women. I feel that I'm privileged to be here and speak for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All righty. Anyone else putting that last call out there? All righty. Oh, we have one more. Oh, we have repeaters. Okay. We have repeat offenders. Okay. Yes. I was kind of hoping it was one of the men that was going to jump up there. Jordan came running, so I thought Jordan was going to talk. Okay. All right. All right, sisters. Yes.
Anyway, I just forgot to mention that that specifically there is like the child care.
Closer to the mic.
Child care in the courts is something that is like I see all the time. Is a bit of just a gray area where kids are not allowed in the courtrooms, especially in probate court. But they're in district, they're somewhat allowed in, but they're recording everything. So that's an area. And I also wanted to mention that we in Northern Berkshire District, we often have Zoom translators. And not in person, which sometimes our Zoom doesn't even work at all. That is not very effective. You can kind of see that. So I just wanted to mention.
I'm gonna grab the mic. If she grabbed the mic, it kind of works.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so it's Flo again. Just to piggyback off of what you were just saying, one of the things that I can tell you in the courts here, I've always lived here, but I just had to travel, which is what made me laugh when I heard someone talking about traveling back and forth to Boston. Well, Liliana, you said that. I'm like, yeah, I can totally agree. I was traveling from Great Barrington to Boston just to work. But when I worked in Berkshire as a victim witness advocate, one of the things that struck me very differently, it struck a nerve quickly, is that for a little bit there, it looked like me, but when everything changed and the new DA came in, it no longer looked like me. The only person who looked like me was me. I remember when I went to interview with DA Kevin Hayden in Suffolk County. In Suffolk County, I said to him, I said, well, if you call the courthouse right now and just tell them that you worked with a woman of color on your restraining order, see what you get. Because you can do that in Holyoke, you're not going to get just me. You can do that in Springfield, you're not going to get just me. You can do that in Boston. Anywhere from, like I said, from Westfield up, you can say a woman of color assisted me with a restraining order and they would not know who you're talking about. We challenged that. He went ahead and called and they said, Flo is not here today. Of course she's not. She's in front of DA Hayden. I'm in front of him. So one of the things that I would love to see in this community, besides just childcare, one of the things that I did discover in Hampden County is they had something called court services. Court services was almost like the community legal aid version, but the Commonwealth version of assistance in the courthouse. So at 50 State Street, as you walked into the court, you have at 50 State Street, you have district court, you have probate court, and you also have superior. But what you have downstairs across from the elevator is court services. So any questions that you have before you go up there, you can ask them. If you need child services, they can probably tell you how close that is, if you need any of that. But more importantly, I think what people in the Berkshires need is to recognize that there's people of color and culture here, and it would be nice if the courtroom to some extent mirrored some of the community that they serve. I think we're talking about immigrants. I'm Afro-Latina. I know immigrants are scared to come out, but Black folks are also scared to come into those spaces because those spaces do not look like them. And so often they have been prosecuted just for that. So imagine being a victim witness advocate and being approached by a defendant to find out what they could do. Not only do our courts not look like that, from the clerks to the attorneys, to even the judges. The only Black female judge that we have had come to Berkshire County is Judge Williams. She's the only one, and she's also from Hampden County. She is amazing. We love Judge Williams, but that is the only one. So imagine that people wanted to come back to court, people of color and culture, when they saw her in the space, because that's the only time the court mirrored them. It would be nice if we were able to go into North Adams and see somebody that looks like us, or go into Pittsfield and see somebody that looks like us. That's not just tough for people like me or my family, but again, we have students as well as also victims who have got to go into those same settings, and what they're scared of is not that they're not going to get their restraining order, but that they're Black in those spaces, or that they're immigrants in those spaces trying to seek those restraining orders. Again, that's where I recently graduated from the Berkshire Economic Council Leadership Accelerator Program, because that is my aim as I'm trying to open a small business now. This is something I've been working on, broader view. And the reason for that is because the only way for me to teach people how to feel as comfortable as I did in those same courtrooms that may have even been against me when I went for my restraining order, is to show you what it actually feels like to walk in there. You have to walk in there with the authority, and you have to walk in there telling your story, as brave as we are. The hardest thing to do as a survivor is tell your story, but the even harder thing is to be turned down as one.
It's so important to be able to share. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. A lot of times we don't realize that culture and lived experiences is so important. When a veteran goes into a courtroom, they used to have a lot of struggles until they created the veteran courts, right? Because we talk differently, we act differently, and in many places we come across very aggressive and very alpha, which I am. Yes. So when we have a veteran court, a judge that is a veteran that understands it's different. So maybe we need to talk about how do we create a courthouse that has a judge that understands victim issues or has lived that story and come above it, you know, returning citizen as a judge, things like that. So that's a good thing for us to talk about. Maybe you have a listening session later on. Is my sister, Commissioner Reyna, ready? Commissioner Reyna, she's there. Nope, she's there. I saw her name. Arena, Tanisha, there you go.
I am here.
All the way from Springfield.
That's what it would be. I did see on the screen share about taking the survey. Be sure to do that. I don't know if that's still supposed to be up there. I'd like to thank everyone who offered up testimony in person and virtually. Send in those testimonies. That information is in the chat. We do use this information. Thank you for your support, for coming out, for sharing your authentic stories. And we encourage you to stay connected with us. Looks like we got the screen share. It's coming, it's coming. And also for our tech delays, for bearing with us. So yes, here we go. MCSW public hearing for Berkshire County. You can scan that QR code to take our feedback survey. We appreciate those thoughts, right? So we thank you for joining us again in person and online. Scan that QR code, take our feedback survey, send in those testimonies because your voices certainly matter. We need all of them. So thank you and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. To my sister commissioners, good to see you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate those that have driven more than 5 minutes to get here. We appreciate those who testified. We appreciate you for just being in the room. Casey tells Senator Mark, yes, thumbs up. And Herbie and Rep. Folly Bouvier, tell her support always, and we'll see you guys tomorrow in the building. Oh, you're welcome, Senator, and watch the road. You know, you're on Route 2. You know how that is. All right, be safe. And we're here. Make sure you visit the Berkshire's table over in the corner. Make sure you get all of our information that we're going to be passing out. Our girls listening session, November 18th. We're going to give you the link so you can register if you have any young sisters. I think we have a flyer on the back table. Please, please, when we do our Girls Empowerment and Leadership Initiative on in the spring, the girls always, the young sisters always ask us to do more. So we're doing a listening session next month. My sister commissioner here, Vice Chair Monska, works in the GSO field before she became executive director of the Women's Fund where she covers down in Bristol County area. And GSOs do so much work, and we want to be able to support our young girls who are out there and hear what they have to say. I hope to see all of you guys. Please make sure we have some young sisters on there so we can be able to hear their issues and so on, so we'd be able to support them as much as we can. But please meet the Berkshire Regional Commissioners, talk to them, and partner and collaborate with them in some form or some way. And thank you so much. And we're going to get up and network with you. I'm sorry. Oh, hold on, Sister Commissioner. Hold on.
It's me. I want to say something. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to those online. I'm Shaitia. I'm the executive director. Hi. I just wanted to put a plug because we were talking about a hearing that we're going to be at tomorrow. The Parity on Boards bill is one of our big priorities, and I just want to name it in this space because I also think I heard about themes of representation and being seen and also being a part of the process. And that bill will help push towards gender parity and racial parity on boards and commissions, public boards and commissions like this one. So I just wanted to say that there is a fact sheet on the back table for that bill if you're curious to learn more. Welcome any testimony. We will help you write the testimony, but I think we have some experts already in the room. And the other one, there is a capital investment bill that would put money towards women entrepreneurs and also putting safeguards for women entrepreneurs against sexual assault. And I also heard that theme as well. So check out the information on that back table. Check out our legislative priority website on MassCSW.org, which also includes the menopause awareness bill. We have a ton of priorities, y'all. Check it out. But I just wanted to put that in the space. So again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your thoughts, your concerns, your issues, bills. It's really, really important to come together, especially in a time like now, and be in community and share our concerns and share our ideas. This is really, really important. And kudos to you all for coming out. Kudos to those online. And I will pass it back to Commissioner Chaturvedi.
Thank you, Shaitia. Just wanted to remind everyone, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We have some domestic violence awareness bags, purple bags in the back. Please take one as you leave. Thank you.
Thank you.